These influences are forever immortalized in our hearts. Their relatively short lives may have robbed us of their presence, but to this day, we still adore and celebrate them as though they were still with us. Long live these icons who died young and way before their prime. Sid Vicious. Some remember him as the draggiest rock star in history, and some also remember him for his brief but influential role in the famous English punk band Sex Pistols. But Vicious himself was always destined for the fast life, one filled with drugs, recklessness, and self-destruction. The chaos which surrounded this talented artist quietened in 1979 when Sid died of heroin overdose. Queen of urban pop, Aaliyah, was R&B's darling until she died in 2001. She had one infectious voice crafted from the heavens. She also exuded so much sweetness in her, so it was sad to lose her to a brutal plane crash. Even sadder was the fact that she died on duty. She was flying back home after shooting a music video for the single Rock the Boat when she died with 8 others in the Bahamas. And even all the posthumous success, including awards, record sales, and countless tributes, won't suffice to bring our girl back. She died at the climax of the hype. River Phoenix. Some continue to argue that River is a pop culture staple today, partly due to his premature death in 1993. But what they tend to forget is that before that happened, he was already an idolized teen star, and a talented one too. He had starred in many popular 80s favorites like Explorers, Running, and My Own Private Idaho in 1991. For his efforts, he had earned an Oscar nomination, so promise and poise were what he had. He was an icon in his own right. But sad thing is, he was also a druggie, and that led to his untimely demise in 1993. Though he died young and before his prime, he has inspired so many, including Jared Leto and Leonardo DiCaprio, who have both cited him as being a major influence in their respective careers. That alone is a win. The Notorious B.I.G. How coincidental is it that Tupac's arch-nemesis died in a similarly gruesome fashion? Well, many are the mysteries of the world. Infinitely talented rapper Biggie Smalls, born Christopher Wallace, is often dubbed as the greatest rapper of all time, and his witty storytelling abilities, coupled with his smooth flow and lyrics, won him many admirers. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1997, aged just 24. Also on this list is Tupac Shakur, born Lezen Parish, Crooks. Tupac Amaru Shakur has sold over 75 million records worldwide, and he didn't even live past 25. He is easily one of the most influential rappers of all time. Despite all his demons, he was an icon primed for ultimate success. But sadly, the lights dimmed in 1996. Pac was the victim of a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. Long live Machiavelli. Otis Redding. Before R&B was rhythm and blues, there was Otis Redding with his witty soulful voice. His music conveyed a lot of emotion during an era numb to it. But still, he was adored for his originality and overall likeness. His career was rather short-lived. How sad. During December 1967, traveling between concerts, he, together with all but one of his bandmates, died in a fatal plane crash. The scene was in Lake Monona in Madison. His age at the time was just 26. Janis Joplin. Female rock stars don't get bigger than Janis did in the 60s. Her charisma and electric pace of her songs put us on edge with thrill and excitement. But Janis also had a dark side, one strong enough to end her life. In October of 1970s, fans of the rock queen woke up to the shocking news of Janis's passing. Cause of death? Heroin overdose. The world had been mourning the death of guitarist Jimi Hendrix just some few weeks earlier when this happened. writing. Jim Morrison. The Doors' lead singer, Jim Morrison, is revered to this day for his poetic abilities and rebellious persona. Much was the drama that surrounded his life, but that's expected when he is often branded as the hippie. Throughout the 60s, Jim, together with the Doors, enjoyed a meteoric rise into the top of rock music, and they deserved every bit of it. But his dependence on alcohol always brought him to the ground. It has been argued that his addiction led to his heart failure in the summer of 1971 in Paris. Jimi Hendrix. Guitar hero Jimi enjoyed a brief but very successful mainstream musical career, but sometimes all you get is a limited cut to prove why you are the most influential guitarist of all time. That was the template of Jimi's case study. He can simply be labeled as a pioneer, but the only stain on the painting was his alcohol and drug addiction. In mid-September of 1970, Jimi Hendrix choked to death from drug intoxication. This drew a sad end to a very promising tale, but most importantly, Jimi's legacy lives on to this day. Kurt Cobain. Many continue to debate the conspiracy surrounding Kurt Cobain's death in his home in 1994. But one thing we all agree on is that iconic rock band Nirvana died with him. He achieved so much with the band in such a short period of time. But just like many geniuses, he also had his personal battles. Drug addiction, depression, and the ills of fame itself. He grappled with them throughout his career until his much publicized untimely death at age 27. We still miss you, Kurt. British singer Amy Winehouse was just a gem. She gave so much to the world of jazz and soul, all in the midst of trouble and controversy. Though she struggled with her personal life, she managed to gift us Frank and Back to Black. When curtains drew to a close in July 2011, the world mourned. She died of alcohol poisoning at her own residence. What she could have been. Heath Ledger. The Dark Knight was undoubtedly the finest work of Australian actor Heath Ledger, but it was one of his last works. He departed at the height of his career. Heath had shown early on with flicks like The Patriot and Brokeback Mountain what a gifted actor he was, but tagged with the gift was a curse. He struggled to sleep, and this led him to resort to prescription drugs. These short-term results in turn led to his untimely demise in 2008. Bruce Lee. The most influential martial artist of all time is undoubtedly Bruce Lee. He popularized martial arts with grace and panache. His confidence, artistry, and general composure brought him fame, a cult following, and adoration from the world over. And he did it all by himself. Impressive, isn't it? Bruce starred in many successful martial arts themed flicks like Enter the Dragon, The Game of Death, and Fist of Fury. But he suddenly passed away in 1973, before many lined up blockbusters could even happen. He died of cerebral edema, which resulted to several collapses during the day of his unfortunate death. Many conspiracies have been theorized regarding Lee's death, but his iconic status has never been a subject of debate. Marilyn Monroe. Monroe is arguably the most significant female icon in American popular culture. She was the most photographed person of the 20th century for a reason. She drove many American men to movie theaters in the 50s. They do not come as bankable as Miss Marilyn, the blondest of them all. She lived a highly publicized life, one she seemed well suited for. But beneath the mask of a viral sex symbol, there was an actual person. She grappled with depression and anxiety for much of her acting career. This ultimately led to her abrupt demise in August 1962. Bob Marley. Mr. Marley transcended music. He was far more than just his songs and talent. There were his looks, his intelligence, and unique aura. He was, and still is, a cultural icon. He is solely credited for popularizing not only reggae, but also Jamaican music in general. The extent of his identity cannot be overstated enough. He was a movement on his own. Too bad he died at 36. Though he had achieved unimaginable success before 1981. Just imagine if he had lived longer. Just imagine that.